Love is hard, love is painful, but at the same time, love was never wrong. It's a lack of love that makes things hard. When you've grown up a certain way, you'll start to believe that this is exactly how things are meant to be. But that doesn't mean that it's necessarily correct. To anyone who's thinking it's too late, I just want to tell you guys, it's not, okay? This channel talks about accountability, but it talks about optimism and it helps you with solutions. The first thing you have to understand is there are always two sides of a story, okay? Like, you can tell someone, oh, it's not my fault. Some parts, yes, some parts are your fault. And you have to be chill with that. If you refuse accountability, that's not going to help you nor the other person or whoever's involved. Finding love after a long time can be challenging, and no one talks about how painful this actually is, but that doesn't mean it's wrong, okay? So I want to talk to you a bit about myself because I feel like it will resonate more considering the fact you get to hear a primary experience. And also someone who actually knows what they're talking about and not just some random person who's just going to be a self-love guru. Please, I'm not someone who's like that. I'm just a human being like you. Years ago, back when I was a teenager, this was when I was an early teenager. So I'd say I was about 14, 15. I was the most depressed individual I could think of. I never had any hope in anything. I always had dark thoughts. You can probably guess if you know what I mean. Every single day. I'm aware of triggers, by the way. I won't mention anything explicitly, but I'm still mentioning something relevant. And each day I would just be thinking, what's the point? There was a time where I just wanted to sleep extra and I just didn't want to wake up. And it sucked a lot, you know. I felt like everything was my fault. If I had an interaction with someone and it didn't go well, the first person I'd blame was myself. And that doesn't go to say that you should just blame the other person. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, and we have to be okay with that. A lot of us take rejection very, very personally. Sometimes it's redirection. So if we don't get a job, something better is coming my way. It's not, oh, I suck, no one wants me. You know what I mean? And it's very hard to move on from a mentality like that. So what happened? Besides faith, because I know some people here are not religious and I respect that, I still do believe that, of course, God helped me with his divine plan. But what he helped me with specifically within myself is what I would like to share with you guys. So the first thing I want you to do is evaluate your relationships. And I always like to talk about the people you're around because they matter a lot more than you think. First of all, go back in time to a specific relationship or an incident that you can think about and really ask yourself, was it your fault? And if your immediate response is yes, then here is the thing I need you to understand. You need to look back properly. If you're the person who's always been texting, if you're the person who's always tried to take initiative and that person hasn't, then it doesn't mean it's your fault. It just means that person is terrible at reciprocating, or maybe that person is not meant for you. But have you noticed that you're the one who's doing most of the doing? Yeah, that's the thing. So why would you blame yourself for something like that? Now let's talk about the deep inner dimensions about everything. The reason why we blame ourselves is because people have given us this belief that we are just destined to suck at something eternally if it didn't work out, either the first time or however many times. But I've said this before. Even if you go through 9 relationships or friendships and the 10th one works, that's just proof the 10th one is meant for you. It doesn't mean that, oh, the 10th one will be bad. It doesn't mean you have to necessarily go through it 10 times to know what the right answer is. It just means that because some are, doesn't mean all are. And that's what people need to really get in their heads. Because I've seen so many sexist remarks on social media that all men are bad, all women are bad because of this one experience. No, you just found the wrong person. And that's not your fault, okay? People did not choose to get hurt. People did not choose to be lonely. You know, it's something that you have to understand. And I think that a lot of us also struggle with self-compassion and self-love because no one taught it to us. When we grow up, right, people don't teach us how to have self-love. People don't teach us how to love life. We're just kids. A lot of us were just doing our own things. And respectfully, this is generalized. For a kid and their childhood, you watch cartoons, you grow up watching stuff, you grow up playing games, you just do what kids usually do, right? No one would actually teach you this is how you love yourself, this is how you do this. If they did, props to them. But honestly, a lot of us weren't taught that, even in school, even in education system. No one teaches you how to actually love yourself. Okay, fine, they teach you how to protect yourself, but that's the thing. We don't have early influences of how to actually be loved. And does that mean we just blame it on the system? No. So, what it took for me to actually start loving myself, I used to have immense self hatred, guys. Immense self hatred. Immediately blaming myself, immediately feeling like, okay, it's me. Now I feel so bad for myself. I don't even want to talk to myself like that. I'm so gentle with myself, but I'm also really critically blunt. I have to be honest with myself. And that's the thing. And another thing I want to say is you don't have to blame people. You don't have to blame anyone. You don't have to blame yourself. You don't have to blame the other person. If they've done something genuinely bad, fine. But that's the thing with grudges. You don't want to keep them forever. And same with yourself, because you only have yourself in this life until the end of time. People come and go. But for us, while we do the same and we are temporary as well, we feel our own disappearance more than we feel other people's. That's how fragile life is. So the thing I want you guys to reflect on the most is it really my fault? If someone just cares about the well-being of others, does that really make them a bad person? Does that really mean that it's your fault? Does that really mean that you're terrible? No. People have manipulated your mentality to think like that. People have basically programmed you to believe that it's weakness to be kind to people, that you shouldn't be kind to people, that it's something that has been heavily looked down upon. No. You just don't find the right people. But that doesn't mean being kind is wrong. That doesn't mean it's cringy. It doesn't mean it's some skill issue. It doesn't matter about whatever internet terms they use. Oh my goodness, the brain rot is real. You have to take initiative. You have to start doing something. And if you're thinking what the first step is, do research, okay? If something specific is bothering you, that's what helps. Because this is why I mentioned people with my example. Because whenever I felt down about myself, it always linked to a person. I would either pedestalize the people, I'd think they're so amazing, I'm just bringing them down, I'm irritating them, I'm insulting them. You know, one of the biggest things that actually bugs us all are intrusive thoughts. That's legit it. Just a single thought can wipe everything away. But why are we paying heed to thoughts? And that's exactly why I've also decided to implement this into my channel as well. Facts over feelings. Some of my older videos have mentioned this as well, which means that you want to focus on what's actually true, not what feels true. Because feelings are tentative. Feelings can feel like, oh, this is probably like this. I think this person's like this. Have communication with people. Or even if your self-love is not linked to people, think about the real facts, okay? You are there for people. You are there to help yourself. You are there during XYZ, you know. Those are facts. If you use feelings, you would say things like you're scared, and that's why anxiety is not reliable. How many times have you been scared about something and realized you could actually pull it through? Because I know I have. I've got really bad anxiety as well, by the way. So I'm just mentioning what's realistic. And this video is not a manual, okay? I want to give inspiration to help people. I don't speak BS. I speak with accountability, but also thoughtful, optimistic approaches, because I believe that everyone can solve a set problem or at least alleviate it, because something like anxiety or depression is not exactly something that could be cured per se, but it can be sustained, it can be well managed, you know what I'm saying? And that's the realistic approach. But it's definitely doable. I've seen stories where people actually did overcome it completely, which is crazy. And I've seen stories where people have managed it thoroughly, but either way, both are mentally happy. Genuinely. You deserve to feel love. You deserve to feel compassion. You deserve to have those relationships reciprocated. You deserve to have yourself as a companion. And the reason why people often mention self-love is because you will get yourself the most, okay? In a world of performance, you can only trust yourself. Everyone is wearing a mask in this world. Everyone has something they're hiding. Everyone has something that they don't want to show anyone else. But if you think about yourself, you know how you feel. You know what your strengths are. You know what your weaknesses are. You know yourself better than anyone else does. Even if you have this one person who knows everything about you, there's something about you that you know more than that person. And you have to rely on yourself for validation. No one else. Because why the hell should someone validate you as a person? They should validate themselves as a person. You know what I'm saying? But society has taught us that if we chase after validation, we'll be liked. But why? Why do I have to be anything but myself to be liked? That's pathetic. I want you to think about something genuinely good about yourself. It could be the tiniest thing. It could be a favor you've done for someone. It could be one trait about you that you like. I want you to really dwell in it and think about the fact that it's not rare. Okay. Okay. Now I want you to think about something that is rare. So if you think about something that's common, and if you think about something that's not common, that's something. Like, let's say holding a door for someone, that's common, right? But let's say checking in on someone, that's rare. Honestly, in a world like this, people don't even ask about each other anymore. People want gains. People want transactions. People necessarily want something because they want something of you. That's a lot of relationships nowadays. Not all, but a lot of them. So will you not have compassion for yourself then? And that's why I mentioned in one of my videos, my recent one about loneliness, or at least finding the right people, I wanted a friend like me. Because I started to learn more about myself. I started to learn I took initiative. I'm not perfect, but I still try. And that's also the kind of person I want as well. No one can be me. But when I say like me, I'm talking about the traits I do like about myself. And the only way I found out what traits I liked about myself was through research. So now I'm holding oh my goodness. Okay. Now I'm holding your hand and I'm going to tell you something. I want you guys to take it well. Okay. Because this is something that I just feel like we need to, get some kind of insight on. Okay. Okay, guys. Right. You have to take accountability. You have to stop ruining your own life. Genuinely. You deserve good relationships. You deserve amazing opportunities in life. I know life sometimes makes you think the opposite, but trust me, sometimes life humbles you. And how you see life is up to you. If you see it as a swarm of lessons, then you see it differently. If you see it as a curse, you will only see things that equate to a curse. Genuinely. You don't have to be all happy-go-lucky. That's not what this video is about. That's very unrealistic and not practical. But one thing I do want to say to you guys is you deserve love. You deserve to feel things. You deserve to have people appreciate you. You deserve to have whatever you want come back to you. You deserve it all. But the first thing you have to understand is you can't just spam, I deserve it. You have to embody the I deserve it. And that takes years, okay? So if you're someone who's in self-hatred mode or someone who doesn't believe in anything, you're not going to immediately overnight say, oh, I deserve this. It's not easy. It's going to feel cringy. It's going to feel terrible. I remember when I first implemented the self-love stuff, I felt so corny I could throw up. Because when you're so used to being in a certain state and then you're suddenly changing it, it's going to feel the opposite. It's going to feel repulsive. Now listen to me. Okay, what the heck is... Oh my goodness, my unicorn! Sorry. That was amusing. Oh my god. This is what it is, okay? You're suffering temporarily now, a little bit right now, just so you can prevent something more painful in the future. Because, guys, self-love affects a lot. And it's not just, I love myself, No, your actions have to prove it. So, the time where I used to, wake up and stuff, I wouldn't just randomly wake up and say, I love life. I would teach myself I need to wake up at a set time. If I sleep too much, then obviously I'm going to feel lazy and I'm not going to get much done with my day. So that's one thing I had to, clarify for myself. And if you just keep implementing habits, it helps. Another thing is embody the kind of person you want to be. I know the internet has so many videos about this, but listen to me. It's not like, okay, I'm just going to be that person. Well, whoops. Why do I keep doing that? It's understanding that you have to make habits now. It's like when a student wants to succeed on a test. You can't just rely on, oh, wow, my memory is that great. You have to study, right? You don't like studying, but you have to do it because you get the information you need. So that little girl that thought that she could never get better got better. I still have days where I fall low. I still have days where it's like, oh, it's kind of hell, but it's manageable. That's the difference. It has to be manageable. It always has to. But there's always good moments as well. Do you ever notice that when you stay alive, just in between, there's just good moments? And even if they're fleeting, everything's temporary. That's the good thing. Like, yeah, unfortunately, good things are temporary here, but at the same time, so are the bad things. You don't have to worry about everything all at once. There are actually genuinely good things to look forward to. You don't have to stay in that state of grief and pain all the time, and stop punishing yourself. You deserve to feel love. And you need to prove that, okay? When you want others to notice, when you want people to actually acknowledge how you are, you have to treat yourself well. And people often say that people treat you according to how you treat yourself. And it's so true. Accountability is something that society is so negligent towards nowadays. People are ashamed of it, and that's something they should be ashamed of. Not the accountability part, but lacking it. We live in a society where people just refuse any accountability. If you try to correct someone, it's just deflecting, it's manipulation. No one actively says, thank you for reminding me. And let's be honest, a lot of us are still like that, but it's so important to see where we're going wrong. But let's take it the right way. If someone tells you explicitly something bad, that's not nice. If someone tells you constructive criticism, that is okay, because that person cares to tell you the truth for what it is. I realized I had to change myself. I had to change my perspective, because I also learned this. If I am like this, I can't maintain relationships. I really can't. Because here's the thing, right? If you want to have a long-term connection, if you want to have a long-term anything, even with work ethic, even with whatever, you have to learn how to navigate through life, through yourself. You just have to. Self-love is almost inevitable, but it's not like corny. It's something that you have to actively realize. Do you ever hear that when you do interviews, you have to tell them things you like about yourself? I hate that question, but that's the truth. You just have to do stuff like that. You have to acknowledge it, but you can't sound deflated. You have to sound like you really do know what you're talking about. So no one is telling you to go to an overnight practice and do some ritual of self-love. No. But you have to take the steps of how to acknowledge that it's not always your fault. And it starts with looking back. This is painful because the past can trigger a lot of memories. And it's not fun, but it's very important to do some digging, to do some soul searching, because that's exactly what it is. It's looking deep within yourself. You have to actively prove it. You can't just be someone who is acting like someone who doesn't. You know what I'm saying? That's conflicting. So take it little steps at a time. Maybe change the way you dress. Maybe talk to yourself slightly differently. So one thing that helped me be realistic is I told myself this sucks less today. If I had told myself, oh, this is amazing, I'm going to feel like I'm speaking BS. But I usually say, oh, this sucks. And then if it sucks less, it sucks less. This is telling myself something that's realistic. There are different ways to talk to yourself. People prefer to be cooed like a baby, and then there are people who also like to be told things with grounded optimism like I do. Just, the sky is the limit. There's so many different ways to do it. The only thing you have to avoid is speaking to yourself like a moron, okay? You're not stupid. Don't be mean to yourself. And that's the thing. Another thing that people also realize is the inner child. How would you want to speak to your child self before all of this happened? Okay, don't go around hating the one child who kept going, because even as a kid, you didn't give up. And that's why you're here today. And you might be thinking, oh, I'm still suffering. It's not easy staying alive. But at the same time, I'm very proud of you. It's not easy, I know. Anyway, I just think that everyone can be happy if they try. But happy, it really does, what's the word? It differs from person to person, what that means. For me, happy is good mental health. I can feel like I'm alive. I can feel grateful. Even if I'm not exactly in good spirits or smiling, I can still feel grateful. I know that things could be worse. That to me is happy. For some people, it's something different. But the one thing I do mention about happiness is don't tie it to something like money that's shallow. Always tie it to something that is actually valuable. something that sticks long term. Because if you have good mental health, that's going to help you with your work ethic. That's going to help you with your relationships. You're going to have low days, but you have to have something that's manageable. And if you can't manage it, then it gets worse and worse and worse. That's the thing. And people don't talk about that enough. They always say, I want to be in a relationship. I want to have this job. I want to have this A grade. I want to be able to make a certain video. I want to do XYZ. What are you doing though? Have you done the research? Oh, yikes. Sorry, Yudi. Corn. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, don't let other people's negativity define you. Don't let one bad relationship or whatever define you. Honestly, you deserve love. And you deserve to give it to yourself, but you also have to take initiative. I know there are so many people out there telling you probably the same thing, but I'm just going to say this. You have to take accountability. It's not all fun and games. This is something serious, and this is something you have to commit to. For me, it took a while, but it was worth it. It really was worth it. Because then you start to feel like you can enjoy a day. You can look forward to something. Even if it's tiny, or even if you don't feel dread after waking up, you can actually feel a sense of fulfillment in life. And that is so worth fighting for, in my opinion. Imagine just waking up and feeling like you just don't feel dark thoughts. That's how it is. So yeah. Anyway, if my video has helped you, I'm very glad. Please support my coffee page as well. It helps a small content creator like me grow. And be sure to subscribe, share, comment. I'd love to hear about your experiences as well. And I want to know if someone has also gone through the same thing and how they dealt with it as well. And you guys do deserve it. I'm not speaking cliche. I'm talking about this as someone who's been through the same thing. Maybe even worse at times, but it's not about being comparative. It's about knowing that everything is relative. Whatever we've gone through in our lives helps us grow. Sometimes it just ruins us, sometimes it helps us grow. We break and get rebuilt. And we're stronger. That's the thing. So yeah, I hope this helps, and I'll see you guys in another video, hopefully. Take care. Bye.